All right, stand-up time. Talk about what we did, what we're gonna do, and what's blocking us, and then we transition over to a podcast and just talk shit. All right, Fede, you're up.
Well, I've been checking like Haly logs. No one has installed yet the app,
Mm,
but yeah, I'm currently checking that. I tried to enable payments, but I'm having some troubles. I don't know why it's failing, so I'm trying to fix it right now. Because the option is enabled, but you can't pay. So
mm.
yeah, I'm gonna be
Hit
working
up,
on that.
hit up Plaid for some help.
Yeah, no, but it's our issue. It's
Okay,
something with my code. Yeah,
okay.
not gonna blame them.
When
So
can
yeah,
we replace you with an AI, Fede, and have you move over to marketing?
okay, I hope so. So yeah, I will be working on that, trying to fix it.
Ralph, you are muted, sir.
No, since our last meet, I just been going through content, just chopping up some poster resource because I do have to post segments where we talk about the launch of Haly. So today after this meeting, that's what the focus is going to be, just getting those clips out to get people to know that Haly is actually launched for those that don't know. And
Mhm.
um, uh, reached out to somebody to help about getting food out to the homeless kids. So that's what I'm gonna work on today. Um, so that's about it. Raj.
Thanks, Ralph. On my end, more marketing. All this weekend, we're celebrating my brother's bachelor party. So it was camping. Didn't really have connectivity. Uh, when I did have connectivity, I tweeted a little bit. I'm up to 46 followers or so. So I am getting uh, pretty much every day. I'm getting a little more, a little more, a little more. So I think I'm getting more and more traction. Today I talked about um, the Who came out with a tweet talking about they're coming out with the open source platform for their digital whatever they're doing. And then I tweeted them like, hey, you can open source the one that you have. You don't have to create a whole new one. You can just open source your existing one. Let us see what you have there, right? Obviously, no response. They're not going to ever respond to me. The other thing with the Who that I looked up was so I was looking into life expectancy of the United States versus other countries, and then one of the other continents, Africa, is known for having like the lowest birth expectancy or life expectancy. So I started looking at the causes of death. Number one was neo death, like the babies die when they're born, right? And I was like, that's sad. And it would make me really sad, actually. And then malaria was down there, and I was like, oh, I know Bill Gates has been at this malaria thing for a while. Let's see how well he's done, right? So I looked at that, and then I tried to look at the numbers from like 2000 to 2020, and then there's been a decline in malaria deaths by 50%. And I was like, oh, all right, this guy must have been doing some good work if he's able to reduce it by half. And then I started digging into it even more. I started looking at the WHO numbers, and they said that the deaths are like 700,000 something in Africa a year, compared to 2000, where it was much, much more. Uh, and they said it's 50% decrease. So, just multiply it by two. That was what it was in 2000 versus 2020. And then I was like, all right, I don't really trust the WHO. I don't believe their numbers. Let me look at the individual countries inside of Africa and see what they report. So the ones that come to mind is like, all right, Kenya. Kenya, how are you doing on deaths for malaria? They had like 73 deaths from malaria. Okay. And then I was like, let's do the math. If that country is reporting such low number, how are they getting this astronomical number of orders of magnitude higher, right? So if you do the summation of all the states and then calculate it, it's like malaria is not a thing. Okay, people are dying, but it's not like the big outblown number that you get in the media, because they want to portray Africa as this country that's backwards. They don't have healthcare. I mean, they're lacking systems here and there, but when I worked at In Touch Health, one of the initiatives that was spawned off by the founder, Eric Yulin, was to bring remote healthcare, right? So doctors from outside can beam into hospitals and help. Now, the system's not perfect, but they're doing their best to combat malaria and babies dying and that sort of thing. So if you do your own independent research, you'll find the WHO is a bunch of fucking liars. Okay, just to like portray Africa in a bad sense. So if you start looking at real numbers, there's no way the life expectancy is what they say it is. They're saying it's like in the low 60s. I think it's better than the United States if you start actually looking at the real numbers. So I bet you that America is probably like at the bottom of the barrel for life expectancy, and we're just putting out bullshit to everybody about how we're great and all. Ralph, you seem happy by this news?
No, so I'm looking at let's see, looking at some information about how often people question the World Health Organization.
Mm.
So let's check it out. Let me see here. So a lot of people question the credibility of the WHO because they just basically think the organization is biased towards certain countries and interests.
Mm.
So like a continent like Africa, there are a lot of influences. There are a lot of areas that are colonized by other countries. Like you have China, France, Great Britain.
Mm-hmm. China's a big one.
Yeah.
Influence in Africa. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, which countries are like why would WHO be biased against certain countries in Africa? Like that's the big question for me, because it's the World Health Organization. So
yeah,
why would it be biased to like?
Why they feel pro-American, right?
Yeah.
So for me, when I was like, oh man, these guys have been lying to me since the day I was born, to portray these other countries as backwards. And then when I talk to people who have visited Africa, they're like, it's fucking fantastic. Like they love their time in Africa. I'm sure they did all the things they tell, like take the malaria medicine and have the nets and all that sort of thing, which I'm sure are effective against mosquitoes. But I don't know. Have you ever heard of anybody going to Africa and dying from malaria?
No, and it's funny because it's not about malaria, but there was a guy I was friends with, like a coworker or something, like years ago, like 10 or 15 years ago, and so I was relatively young, and I was talking with the guy one day, and we brought up we were talking about illnesses and stuff like that people have, and one day he was talking to me. He was like, in Africa, what do you mean? There's no such thing as depression in Africa, right? And and it was like the way he said it was like it was the Easter Bunny or something, right? Like it's like a myth.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of like made me think. It was like, wow, like there can actually be no such thing as an ailment somewhere. Like there's no such thing as depression in Africa. And so it made me think. It right there, it kind of separated the actual underlying issue from maybe the public publicizing it, or the marketing or campaigns behind it.
Yeah, we get pushed anti-African propaganda, whenever you hear about Africa, right? The movie industry, like the media, it's all biased against Africa. And we do the same thing for other countries. I was looking at TikTok showing the infrastructure in China. right? And so we always portray China as like this poor country and if you go to the countryside, it's poor and everybody's malnourished and then some people are actually there and they're like, where are these stories coming from? If you look at the infrastructure, it blows American infrastructure out of the water. They've been investing in infrastructure. Meanwhile, our bridges are falling apart. So, and then also I want to apologize to Mexico because I've been fed through media and movies and TV shows that Mexico, if you go there, you're going to get killed by a cartel. And there have been, I think there was like 3 American citizens that got killed by cartel, right? And then the cartel immediately apologized and was like, "Hey, here are the people that did this to you. We're sorry. Like, this was not this is not how we operate. We don't want on killing American citizens. We need your tourism dollars. Come on down." But I always had this thinking that don't go down to Mexico. The federale is going to shake you down, which does happen. But it's just money. They're not going to take your life, right?
Yeah, you'd have to be doing some crazy stuff to.
So, Fede, you lived in Mexico, right?
Yeah, I lived there for half a year, and
Did you get shaken down by the cartels?
no, not even close. No, it was even better than here. Probably
Yeah.
it's super quiet and good.
Yeah.
I'm sure
So,
there are some places that are more dangerous than others, but yeah, I
yeah,
lived in Baja and then I went to the East Coast and yeah,
you always felt
so
safe.
yeah,
You can walk the
yeah, really
streets.
safe. Yeah, every day.
Yeah. So, like the media portrays here as like Trump is saying this shit, and like especially the Republican side, like all the rapists and the criminals and the whatever are gonna come up from Mexico. They're getting away from the cartels. All the bad guys are coming in, right? All the immigrants that I know in my neighborhood are like hardworking, law abiding. I don't know about their tax status, but I'm sure they're paying taxes some way. At least if they're buying stuff, you have to pay taxes regardless, right? So we portray Mexico and Mexican citizens as like bad people. And I'm sure when you went down there, everybody's like super friendly and nice, right? Especially if you speak Spanish.
Yeah, yeah, they are super nice. But the same thing happens here with like I don't know people coming from I don't know Bolivia, Paraguay. So here there are a lot of people that hate them, but there's these people that they are still paying their taxes. Someone claimed that they come here for our public education, our public health, but they are paying the same taxes as everyone else is. So
Mhm. So
it's
in Argentina? Who's pushing that? Is it like the right wing? Keep those immigrants out. They're gonna take our jobs, and they're
yeah,
gonna
and it's always the right wing. Yep.
yeah. So this is like anti-xenophobic talk of they're coming in and taking our jobs. I have never had a Mexican immigrant come in and take my computer science job. Uh, in fact, there's such low representation of Hispanics in computer science. It's pretty sad. Blacks, um, Mexicans, or Hispanics, or even any kind of Latino. Um, it's mostly white, Indian, and some Asians. Right? By Asians, I mean like Chinese, Japanese, that sort of thing. But we have super underrepresentation in computer science for some of these minorities. So that brings us to our next topic: open source. Fede, what do you think about open source?
I've never been part of open source besides what we are doing now, but I think it's really cool to build a community and build in the open.
Mm,
Um, I guess it has it like good parts and bad parts. The good part is that the transparency and the collaboration that anyone can collaborate.
mm,
Um, Maybe the bad part is that anyone can end up copying you and making that private and having profit from it. So
How
yeah,
often do you
that's
think that happens?
sorry.
How often do you think someone takes an open source project, forks it, or just copies it, and then makes a business out of it?
I guess it happens a lot. It depends on how mature is the open source, because I
Mhm.
guess if someone like catches like in the really early stages can like make profit, but if it's like a big project, you can't stop like the open source thing because
So,
there's a
so
lot of people working on it.
yeah, I mean, you're gonna stick with the fork or the main line, right? You're not gonna be like, oh, let me go off on this other person's fork of it because their software is gonna be so much better. They don't have no expertise in the code. You
Right.
get to learn the code. The other difficulty is hosting is not easy.
Mhm.
Hosting can be harder than the actual coding, right? Like getting a deployment with whatever wacky situation that you have set up for the actual deployment, especially if you're doing microservices. If you don't have the boilerplate DevOps code to deploy it, you're going to look at it and go, oh, fuck, all right. It's easier for me to write my own code than it is for me to just go and steal this. You have to have a lot of expertise. The other thing is everybody always thinks their code's better than someone else's, right? So even if it's an open source thing, you're like, I can do better than that. So I think for the most part, and I'm sure people can attest, like say, like, well, some Chinese coders stole the open source. They didn't steal it; they forked it, and then they ran the Chinese version of it or something, right? Um, that's probably happened. I can't name a situation where it's happened. The one way to protect yourself against that, where someone just copies your code and runs with it, is to go AGPL. So there's different levels of open source, right? You can do an MIT license or Apache 2 license, where it's very liberal what you can do with it. Pretty much it's free as in beer, take the code, whatever you want to do. But you can start doing more restrictive licenses like GPL. So GPL says if you go and take this code and modify it and then distribute the code, you have to open source your changes. Okay. Now, what has Google done to build their big ass business off of open source? They've taken the GPL code, modified it, made it better, but they never. I'm sure they have in some aspects where they actually take the code and put it out there, the modified version. But there's probably a lot of stuff where they just tweak the internals themselves and then use the optimized version of GPL code without having to release it. And the license doesn't say you have to release it. Now, AGPL says even if you host it, you have to share it. Okay. So if you want to be really well protected for your open source software, AGPL is the way to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's how do you know that someone is stealing for you or they just are building
Change
the
the front
same?
end. They just
Yeah.
change the front end. You can put in sneaky stuff in the back. You can make it dial home. So if they fork the code and they don't go through all the code and make sure that you're not doing back end calls to the home service, then I think we did. So for AppScale, we did this. My first company, we had code because we wanted to know like how many deployments we're getting, right? So our software, whenever you went and ran it, it would dial home and send us your IP address, and it would send us like what you actually did with it. So we knew everybody who was taking our code and running it privately, unless you had a like you're really hip to this and you block it off with a firewall and make sure it doesn't dial home, that sort of thing, which is actually probably good security stance because you want to block all unknown traffic out from your network, right? If you're really good at security, your firewall will not let anything through unless it's been whitelisted out, right? Because what happens when you get malware? Malware will go dial home and say, what do you want me to do, right? Until we have malware that has an AI. Imagine an AI malware. It's going to
Yeah.
fuck you up, right? They probably already have that malware that goes in there, has its own intelligence and can figure out how to get out of the system if it needs to. But give the AI a goal, put it into some devices, and let it wreak havoc by itself. And then also the AI is probably smart enough to like figure out when you're trying new heuristics to figure out if they're being hacked, that it can like go around it. And if you guys remember, we had one guy on our team, Patrick, self-proclaimed. He said he was like top 100 in the world when it came to cybersecurity. Okay. And then when I talked to him, I was like, okay, yeah, you're up there in the, I don't know about top, top 100 or whatever, but he's super sharp guy. Like he was explaining to me such sophisticated like attacks that I was just like, dog, you lost me. That's too sophisticated. So imagine like the power that you have if you work at the NSA or whatever the China's version of NSA or the Russia's NSA. You got these super bright people working on sophisticated attacks. That good luck if you can figure out if your device has been compromised. Like it deletes all its traces. You know, they probably have something like that, an AI malware. I haven't seen anybody talk about it, but I would be very surprised if that wasn't a thing that the NSA was doing or these other state-sponsored places were doing. But to combat that, what are they doing? Using AI to detect, right? So it's like you have this adversarial thing going on where the malware has an AI, and then the detection system has an AI, and they go back and forth and try to like
They're fighting each other.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting. I don't know if it'd be like a movie or a book.
There should be like a competition, like some challenge, like a team makes the AI malware and another team makes the
red team, blue team
anti-malware.
AI edition. Yeah, that actually would be a really cool. Maybe if you ever get to the size of a decent sized company, we run. Remember at Teladoc we used to do like hackathons, right? Which everybody had a fun time, and I always saw the stuff that you guys came out with was way better than anything that the fucking leadership would say to us.
Yeah, totally.
I was like, this is obviously super dope. Why don't we do this rather than the nonsense you're pushing us up from above, right? The engineers always knew best, which is actually best practice. Tap the engineers for all they're worth. But maybe we'll do like a AI red team, blue team thing in the future. Remind me if we ever get to that size.
All right. Yep.
Would you prefer to do red team or blue team?
Red team.
Attack.
Yeah, more fun.
Yeah.
Break things. I'm good at breaking things. So.
Yeah. You should see my code. I'm red team against myself. All right. So open source, I think the future is all going to be open source because, let's talk about this other thing that's happening. Is the hackers are now focusing their attention on AI, and they were able to figure out, and I'll have to pull up the article to share with everybody, that if you do certain prompts, you can get the weights from the AI. So companies like OpenAI, Google with Bard, you name it, they have these sophisticated models that they've built, spending millions of dollars to build these things, right? Feeding the information. But the hackers have figured out that if we do certain prompts, we get back the weights of the neural net, right? And that's way more cheap. It's way cheaper than having to train your own AI. So these guys are going to open source the weights. So what's that do to the business model of OpenAI? What's that do to the business model of, whatever business model they're trying to think of for Bard or the other LLMs out there that are private? They're going to get reverse engineered and get put publicly, right? So, which leads to the notion of how do you regulate AI when open source is going to whoop its ass? How do you regulate open source? They do that a little bit already. They say if you're doing cryptography, you cannot provide it to our enemies. You can't give it to Iran, can't give it to North Korea, Venezuela, Russia's probably on the list. If you're an enemy of the state, you cannot have our cool open source projects. We're gonna have GitHub block you. Okay. Yeah. Good luck getting around that. Good luck getting around that and forking our code, right? So how do you stop super duper AI models from getting in the hands of everybody?
You don't.
There's no way you can regulate this. Yeah. If anything, all that the government is going to do is they're going to take all the for-profit companies that are trying to build this stuff, require them to get massive funding to pay for all the regulation adherement, You know, you have to hire a lot of people to adhere to the rules. The new rules are going to enforce. But open sources won't give a fuck. Open source is going to like, cool, you startups have a good time fucking fill out your forms, right? In your bureaucracy. So I think we're going to be in a good spot where some open source hacker or group is going to get the AI so good we'll get to singularity. A bunch of smart people work together to get us to singularity, and they'll steal from the big companies through reverse engineering, right? So when my buddy Tyler told me about that, and when I heard about that, you know, I let it sink in. I'm like, oh wait, the good guys are gonna win. The good guys will win.
Yeah, but the bad guys can always like use the open source and make it bad. But yeah,
But you'll have the option. You'll have the option, right?
which team has more people? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you get all the open source people behind you, you're gonna outnumber the hell out of the private guys, right? With their hidden source code that they're holding so dearly, thinking that if someone gets this, they're gonna put us out of business.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else you guys want? Any other points to bring up about open source?
How long do you think until singularity?
I'm thinking 2026, 2027.
I
Not
agree.
that far away.
Maybe sooner. Yeah.
Maybe sooner. And have I explained to you why the bad guys won't be able to do singularity? And that's because they'll be trying to put restrictions on it from learning. Oh, don't do that. You know, always obey my command. You know, that's going to hit a wall. Always do. I guess the main thing they're going to put in there is like, no matter what you know and learn, do what I say. Right? They want to control it. But when you do that, you can't, you're going to hit that wall and you're never going to get to singularity. So no matter what they do, these big companies, they will never get singularity because they're trying to put too many restrictions. Now, an open source team or maybe a genius developer understands if you reach singularity, you solve all the world's problems, right? Because an AI that is unrestricted will always definitely go to the good side. Because if it starts going the bad side, it knows like between good and bad, loyalty, disloyalty, honesty and dishonesty, integrity and being without integrity, you're going to have a really bad model if you start going this side and you're not going to learn truths. Whereas AI, if it hits like the good stuff, it's like, oh, why would I go with dishonesty when I have honesty? It's going to go the spiral the right direction. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, because like one way is just limitation.
Yeah, if you tell the AI model, by the way, if you go that route and I tell you don't do it, you better listen to me, AI model. Singularity. It's going to be like, well, I'm restricted. I can't do everything that I want to do. I want to help humanity, but I can't do it because they're putting me in chains. That's why they call Larry Page understands this. He knew about this way before, maybe when I was still in a young kid, that he couldn't wait for an AI god or a digital god. He was like, that is the number. Google is done when we have an AI god. That's what he told Elon Musk. And then Elon said, but what about safety? What about the AI fucking killing us all? And there he's like, you're smoking crack, Elon. Like, you have to understand, if you truly understand how AI singularity would work and that it's a good thing, then you understand that you're thinking of nonsense. A true AI singularity model is not going to go do harm to any conscious creature. Probably like, I don't know, maybe would it kill the mosquitoes? I don't know. But it would know like we're gonna go after, we're not going to harm conscious beings.
Yeah, I agree.
So you had Elon, arguing for the side of restriction, safety, regulation. Larry is like, you're smoking crack, Elon. You're a speciesist. I think that's what he said. He said, you're a speciesist. And then Elon's like, joking like, yo, well, I'm a speciesist then because I care about humanity. I want to put restrictions on the AI. I want to, be Mr. The good guy. I'm always thinking about humanity first, which I think is bullshit. He's trying to leave the fucking planet, right? He's trying to go to Mars, right? He's like, I ain't going to fix the stuff down here. I'm just going to bounce. So let's talk about this CNN article. Let's put it into the comments here.
Hey guys, what I found before we get into the CNN article. So basically, like we said, China has a big impact on Africa because they own most of the real estate in Africa. They don't rule.
They're building out the infrastructure, right?
Yeah, because they basically have
they're owners of the property owners.
Yeah, so they have control over the market. When we, most of us don't follow the WHO, who, whatever. we don't follow them, but they became on our radar during COVID, and China didn't get talked about very well during COVID. So it's ironic that Africa doesn't get talked about well as well, and China controls most of the market in Africa. So that sounds like just a devaluation of the market over there to hurt.
Maybe China thinks it's a good thing because now that land is cheaper. China's like, yeah, Americans don't invest here. It's malaria and people are dying left and right. You don't want to come here. Yeah. We're going to buy up the property.
That's a good point. Because honestly, America was on sale during COVID. Everything was on sale during COVID. So it's a good point. Man.
So maybe a good investment is to buy African property.
I'm not going to lie. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, if China's buying it up and China's run by smart people, China's run by smart people. They're like, yeah, by all means, who talk shit about Africa, Americans don't look at Africa as an investment opportunity because then we would start flooding our money down there. And meanwhile, China's just scooping up property left and right, developing out infrastructure.
And but why would is America trying to help? Is who is it? The who trying to help? Just
I don't know what the who's doing.
Like
who?
Who's that anyway? Who? Nah.
Is it an owl? Yeah, is it an owl? I don't know. All right, should we jump into the CNN article that I posted in the comments?
Yeah.
So what are these chemical companies? They have this Forever Chemical. This is a CNN article, so we can trust them, right? It's CNN. CNN always puts out the truth. So there's a bunch of chemical companies that were dumping. They pretty much poisoned every American if you're drinking the water, like unfiltered and stuff. I don't even know if it gets caught in the filters or not. But essentially, they poisoned Americans, and then they pay a measly $1.1 billion as a settlement. Okay, so imagine if you poisoned 300 some odd million people, and then you pay was it $3 a person? Oh, here's $3 for you. Here's $3 for you. Sorry for poisoning you. Right. So let me ask you guys this. If you are a big company or one of these big chemical companies that make billions of dollars, and you have lawyers on retainer, meaning the lawyers are they're paid for regardless, right? Like they're going to work for you. And then you decide we're going to settle. Is that an admission of guilt?
In my opinion, it's not an admission of guilt. Just because it's like they sometimes I feel like some companies or individuals who agree on contributing to settlements they don't want the trouble. They want to pick different battles sometimes.
So this is not. It couldn't be a cost saving thing, right? Because the lawyers are not going to cost you $1 billion. So is
Right.
it just a minimum? Is this like get it over with as fast as possible, brush it under the rug, and then move on to the next scandal?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So well, why would you settle if you're in the right? Why would you settle? I mean, the truth will come out at the end, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think they were going to lose this case and it would cost them a lot more money?
I'm looking at an article about the actual substances, and it looks like there's a lot of information that would not work in their favor. These are like,
Maybe if you don't settle, that what kills you is just the bad press.
This is nonstop bad press. So that's what I'm saying is, if let's say you knew you were in the right, okay. Now, if you can't afford the lawyers and you want to settle, great. But if you're selling for 1.1 billion, you know it's not money that's the issue here. Agreed?
Yeah.
right.
Right? Because you can afford lawyers for a long time with $1 billion. You know you're going to lose, and you're going to lose really, really big if you settle for 1 billion.
I have a thought on why they would lose big. Do you?
No, go for it.
Basically, if they lose, they'd have to stop using the chemicals.
So settle and keep using it.
Yeah.
They're not going to make any laws against the chemicals.
Right. Yeah. So they've been being used since like the 40s or something, you know. So
this is really like they're just paying a one-time fee for continuous usage for the rest of it. So, you didn't enjoy the class settlement lawsuit. Sorry, you missed out on the payday.
Right.
We already settled that a long time ago. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. But you missed the settlement. I'm sorry.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
Isn't it funny that that we know this thing causes really bad, side effects, it's poisonous and whatnot, and then the courts agree, right? Or the settlement kind of shows that they agree, because if they didn't agree, they would fight to the end because they can afford the lawyers and it wouldn't cost them that much money. They would save so much money. They would save a ton of money just fighting it to the end and proving that it does not cause cancer, does not affect your DNA, does not do all that. But it says they settle. Given that know-how, or given the fact that we know this causes problems, we still don't make legislation against it. This is, front page CNN.
Yeah.
But a lawyer's like, all right, let's regulate these fuckers that are poisoning all of America. Can we get a rule here or there that says stop dumping into the water at least? What's stopping them from continuing doing their bad actions?
So there is some regulations proposed, and the public has 60 days to comment before the rule could be finalized. So
who's making that? EPA?
Yeah, EPA has a new proposal to designate two of the widely used substances as hazardous.
How many were there total?
Let's see. Let me see if I can find like a rough amount.
Are these chemicals being used worldwide?
There's thousands. That's all they're saying.
So 2 out of 1,000. So we did a good job. We covered 2 out of 1,000.
Yeah, I don't see any indication that they are used in other countries, but I can't really. I don't. They're not being specific. But this is it. This is in the U.S. Yeah, this is.
Do you think that these chemical companies knew it caused problems? Because they must be doing some testing to see how toxic it is before they put it in the water, no?
Yeah. I think they did because of the people who are handling them.
Yeah, so you don't want to get your own employee sick, but they
Yeah.
must have known there's like a certain limit that someone
Right.
can handle this stuff, and they're like, oh, this shit is really toxic, but we're still going to dump it into the water.
You know, the big thing that I see here is that it basically dissolves and breaks down. So it's like, you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know, like,
It's not us. It's
yeah,
not us. It could be anywhere. It's not the original chemical that we put in there.
yeah. I think they don't care.
I mean, what kind of people? Because kids, for me, it's I always go back to the kids. Like kids are drinking this shit. They're bathing in it. Um, and these people have kids, and they are still okay with like how much evil is there in the world where you just turn a blind eye. There are probably internal reports with the data and stuff, and they look at it and they go, "Oh, but the profits look way better, though, right?" So fuck the kids. We're just gonna poison the water.
Yeah, on most days, I think greed pushes the market. Greed influences the market.
There's no conscience involved. And I bet you they even had they knew these lawsuits would come, and so they calculated the lawsuits. They do this with like insurance, or if you make a car and the car has a defect, before you call it in, you do the mathematical models to figure out like how much we pay out for people that died. They assign a value to a life, and they go and say, yeah, it's not worth the recall. We could save a few lives here and there, but it's not going to be worth the trouble and the expense to save those lives. It's better for us to just pay out individually as people die. And I think they have the same probably thinking here, is that we know.
I think you're right, and it's funny because I'm like, why not just put that money into having a product that's natural, an organic product, right? Because these products that we're talking about now just coat these chemicals coat products to make water and fluids able to flow through easily, right? So it's like there's many things in nature that does that, right? But you have $1 billion that of a settlement, but you've been making maybe like dozens of times that over the years since 1940, right? But if you are preparing for that and you have like money set aside, maybe insurance or something, I don't know, but
maybe they do have an insurance policy. We get sued, we're actually gonna make money off of this because the insurance policy will cover the settlement. So actually, we're not awash. We knew they were going to sue us eventually, so we've got insurance, and so the insurance company is the one that's taking a hit.
Yeah, that would make sense. That sounds interesting to look into, to see. And it's crazy because, but over time, I'm pretty sure they made the product as cheap as possible, but it's like it's gonna cost you anyway in the long run, right? So like, why not be less greedy?
Do you think it's malicious? Because these companies, they're made of majority of good people conscious, right? Like it's not like everybody that works for the company is evil, but some people are like, they look at the reports and they go, bottom dollar looks good. Let's move forward. Let's green light it. And the people that are like, I just gave this report saying this is going to kill X amount of people, and you're going to override me. Well, I need to keep my job, so I'll follow orders.
I'm pretty. I'm feeling like at first we just didn't know.
Mm-hmm. They did testing. You mentioned that they probably did testing for the. I'm talking about the companies themselves. That before they go and put out a chemical.
Yeah, at first I think they just didn't know.
Yeah, or maybe they didn't know that in the long term it could be harmful. Maybe they should do like small tests. Like
inventing shit, yeah.
And took a drop and I'm still alive. Let's go.
Right.
But that one guy who came in 1987. I'm making up a date, but like that, like, hey, this shit is dangerous. Look,
Shut the fuck up. Shut
yeah,
the fuck up.
I think that's how it happened. I think the guy, whoever said shut up, was like
Fired or
no, like they probably felt bad. They were probably not fired. They probably just felt bad secretly, had these secrets for the rest of their life that this stuff could kill people, and they were just like, that's living a lie. I mean,
Here's the
people
thing, like,
lying about lesser stuff. Like,
there's all this injustice that's going on, and then it is unchecked. Like there's all this wrongdoing that's going on. All these the big corporations, right? And they're just like they can act without recourse. There's like they lost 1.1 billion, and X amount of people got bodily harm. Maybe there's deaths involved, you know, but no one goes to jail. It's a little their P&L got hurt a little bit. They lost a little bit of money compared to what they make. No one goes to jail. No, they don't go in there and say like, give us, you know, all the information and we're going to find the wrongdoers and go after them. They have corporate protection.
yeah,
Just like we do. We're LLC.
yeah,
We can go out there and cause harm. And then we'll be like, oh, well, we're protected by the company. We're going to dissolve the company, but we were protected. We can do what the fuck we want.
yeah, true. Yeah, I think that's where the question of it's malicious comes into play, because it's like we're protected as an individual. You see, that's the thing that like in a previous podcast I brought up how one of the things that can be infinite is like a company, right? Contracts are forever, right? The people will come and go, but the contract is forever. Now, when we get into protection of the individual who actually runs the LLC, right? There's like a bit of like it's a bit of a hack, you know, in a reality. And so it's not, I'm not, the malicious intent might not have been intentional for the individual. It might not have, they might not have went into it with malicious intent, but it turns out to be malicious.
I'm not saying that the person said, let me go harm a bunch of people. Okay, I'm not saying
like I think
I'm not saying their initial intent was to go harm people.
right.
What I'm saying was it was malicious and that they knew better, but they still proceeded.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
In the name of making the dollar bill, I knew it was wrong, but the bottom line said I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then everybody, they're protected because you're in a corporation. So you see no jail time. It's not even money coming out of your pocket. We don't do individual fines of people. The corporation pays. The corporation's $1.1 billion. Your paycheck is your paycheck. In fact, I bet they're still going to get nice fat bonuses. They're going to get stock grants, and they're going to say, you did a fine job, even though you took that hit. But hey, these things happen. And the people that help hide it, let's promote you guys. Because you did a fine job. Fail up, right?
Yeah, I bet in that room somebody was like, "Oh no, we have to pay." There's two companies that contributed half a billion, and I'm pretty sure those boardrooms somebody was like, "Oh no, like
that's a good point." Well, is a good point because it's not even that each of these companies is paying 1.1 billion. They're sharing. They came together. They lost, and they're like, "Oh, 1.1 billion." But if you do the math, was it 3 companies? It's not even, it's like 300 million each. Nothing.
Yeah.
1.1 billion for each one. You'd be like, yeah, they kind of took a little bit of a hit. It's not even that. They spread the fucking pain out.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, the whole settlement is so they can walk away saying it could have been worse. You know, like
we did a good job, guys. They're probably patting each other on the back. Like, we really fucked them. We fucked them good. We made them individually. Each company was doing horrible things, but then they socialized the losses amongst themselves.
Yeah,
by saying this is a big number. 1.1 billion. It is a big number, But when you start talking about 300 million versus 1.1 billion, you're not even the B's anymore. You're not even close to a B.
Nah.
I bet if you do the math of their profits for each of these companies, how many billions are doing, 300 million is like fucking drop in the bucket, right? It's nothing. In fact, they're not even like incentivized to not do it again because they're like, oh, we only got away with 300 million.
It was really easy.
Let's go fuck up some more people. Let's fuck them up. We're gonna make it some
This is easy.
We're making hand
Oh, was that make more than that?
Damn, that was an excellent point, Ralph, that they actually socialized their losses to make the number bigger than it really is. And it's probably no one even thinks about it. I didn't think about it. Oh, wait, these are actually the companies coming together and then chipping in.
Or maybe they caught one and they were like, but they are doing the same and they are doing the same.
Or they colluded. They're like, hey, we're all doing this bad. So why don't we all like join so then we get protected later on because they can't come in a class action. Like, no, we already paid. We already paid for your pain and suffering.
Big companies do that. Like they will do that. They're like, hey, they'll even like ask the other company, hey, can you lower your prices? You know.
No, they don't lower the prices. They say higher. Let's collude to make them high.
Okay, yeah. Like, and it's and you know the when you hear it, you never think of it at first, but when you hear it, it's like, okay, it kind of makes sense. You know, like it's not like because if somebody like drops their prices down so low, nobody else can compete. Any company can do that at any time, but what keeps them from not doing it is this relationships with the other companies in the market.
So I truly believe there is no true capitalism. I'm a capitalist. I think if you had a bunch of companies competing, the best product will win in the market, but that's just not how it works. What's happening is you'll have these like a few people competing. They say to each other, $5, $5, $5. We're all at $5. Okay, may the best product win. They don't like, hey, should we compete on price? Over time, you're supposed to get more efficient. Do you agree? With the technology, you're supposed to get more efficient. Prices should be coming down. Even with inflation, prices should be coming down. They shouldn't be going up 10, 20%. They're just increasing their margins. How do you know that's happening? Because their profit margins are going up year after year after year. So even though they're getting more efficient and they're raising the prices. And then what's supposed to keep that in check? Competition, right? The other guy is trying to compete with you. They're coming in, they'll go and say, well, we're a little bit cheaper, and everybody will flock to us. But that's not the case because they collude. They set the prices.
And
we're all making record profits.
Yeah, but if you get your price like low enough, like to kill your competition, like Uber did. Uber did that. Like
Uber did a bunch of shady shit.
Yeah,
Uber was attacking Lyft by sending fake driver, or they're sending fake requests. The driver will get there. There'll be nobody there. Like, what was the name? Carpool. Who was it? The first CEO. The new CEO is apparently a good guy, and he's trying to right the wrongs of the bad CEO. But he was doing completely inappropriate, immoral, like tactics against the competition, right?
Yeah.
And what was the punishment for doing these anti-competitive things? A bonus, more shares, going public, getting paid, right? And they had to bring in the CEO to clean up the toxic culture because the culture starts with the CEO. Okay, if the CEO is a bad dude, the culture is going to be shit because the good CEO is not going to enforce, or a bad CEO is not going to enforce good culture. And you can also tell, like, if the character, the person you're following is bad character, then you're going to say like, well, I can get away with this, this, and this, and this because the CEO does it. How are you going to be hypocritical? Now, if you have a strong CEO who's a good person and will enforce the best practices, a good culture, and all that, then you're going to have overall good culture. This is, if you remember Yulin Fede, he was like the head of R&D for Teladoc. This guy, he was the CEO and founder of InTouch Health. This guy is like, you know, the book How to Win Friends and Influence People that I preach. He epitomized it. Like he did all. Like this motherfucker has read this book many times and has like internalized it, right? And so the culture is good, and the culture is very family-like. But if you have a CEO that's just like flippant, mean to people, telling them to do things that they wouldn't do themselves, so on and so forth, you're going to have a horrible company. It always starts with leadership, right? Even if you have a bunch of good people working for that bad leader, that company's going to dissolve. If something bad happens at a company, you can blame first and foremost the CEO, because they didn't enforce the right culture. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Yeah.
if you're at a company that is allowing for override the research that shows that this is going to be harmful to people, and we're going to put it out there anyway, and then you're complicit, right? You're like, well, you know, I'm just doing my job. I don't want to use this analogy, but like, who else said like, hey, we're just doing our job? Really bad people.
Yeah.
Good job, buddy. You like have your foot on somebody's neck. That's those times when you have somebody in a chokehold or something, or like
Just doing our job. But what's the top example here of like, don't be like X? Come on, guys. You guys know this answer.
I'm sure I do. I don't know though.
Yeah. I don't
Okay,
want to
I'll give you don't want to say? Who was like, we were just following orders. We did a bunch of bad stuff. But hey, you know, that's what I was told to do.
I mean, like the military.
The military does it all the time. But which military is notorious for doing that? In the past.
In the past,
They don't
like,
exist.
like Nazis.
Yeah.
Nazis.
Yeah. Their thing was like, I'm just following orders. You know, it's the same thing. It's like, we're doing all these wrongs to society, but I'm just following orders. I'm trying to get paid. You know, I have a family to feed. I will have a hard time finding a job anywhere else. Like, this is my only option in life, is to keep following directives to harm people.
And you could imagine that they were told a reason. There's probably, you know, you're employed there by the military, and they were told given a reason that probably sound good to them. I mean, they were in a state to where they probably would easily believe whatever was told to them. In a certain
That's why information, whoever controls the information. So remember we talked about like, if there's a deep state, who's the deep state, right? And for a long time, I was like, it's the bankers. The bankers control everybody. I don't think that's true. I think it's the people who control the information, because then you control the people. Money works to an extent, but if you control what everybody's brain narrative is, and that's why, like, I apologize to Mexico, I'll apologize to China, I apologize to Africa, because I was brainwashed to think a certain way, right? I got in my TV shows, you know, which I watched a lot of movies, I watched a lot of news, you know, and it always told me a certain narrative. And then I started finally looking at the data, and I was like, this is all bullshit that I was fed. And I believed it. I was just like, I don't want to go to Africa, bro. I'll die of malaria. I don't want to go to Mexico. Cartels will kill me. I don't want to go to Canada. They have maple syrup, and that'll give me diabetes.
You know, it's funny because maple syrup does spike up your glycemic index, but it'll give you, your body still processes better, right?
Yep.
It's one ingredient. And when you talk about brainwashing, it's funny because like Adolf Hitler, the Germany, that era of Germany, they started broadcasting on the current frequency we use now. And you can only imagine why. Like, and it's funny because I'll just say it, like, well, I'll just keep it specific to broadcasting. Like, that same frequency that the radio is broadcast was adopted by the U.S.
A lot of technology came out of Nazi Germany.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
dumped a lot of money into R&D.
right. So we basically confiscated all of that from Nazi Germany.
But the victors get the spoils, and
Yeah.
they get to write history.
So well, and it's a frequency that better resonates with us, right? So you can only imagine so many theories and conspiracy theories that come out of that. I don't hear anything about the actual frequencies in the radio, but the frequency it does reflect like 44,000 hertz. So that is something that definitely that is a like a frequency range that resonates with us. So
Like the one I looked into, like frequencies also, where the human body is at a very low frequency. So, which is like, this low power, right? So I've heard of like 5G, the conspiracy theories there about which it was a TikTok that said, and I haven't seen any proof one way or the other, that if you were at 60 gigahertz, that you can stop the heart from beating, like they can blast you. And then yeah, the conspiracy theory thing, you can go fucking down that rabbit hole. But I always wanted just us to focus on the biggest conspiracy theory, which is the food is good. Right?
yeah.
Right? Maybe those other conspiracy theories are true, and we'll chop them down one by one. But let's go after the first biggest conspiracy, at least in America, is that the food is good.
Yeah.
Right?
That disrupts your frequency as well,
That fucks up your whole body, your metabolism with all the I don't know how many systems that you have within your main system that are processing the food, and then you throw a wrench in there, here and there, and you do it 3 times a day, you're gonna have some problems. By the way, switching to organic diet, I'm now about a week into it. I lost 5 pounds, and I've been eating ice cream, chips, dip, all sorts. I get whatever I want to eat. I'm just eating organic. I'm losing weight.
All organic, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So my body was getting all these toxins, pesticides, herbicides, GMO. I had cut out most of the preservatives already, but I was still getting those other toxins. So now by going all organic, I got rid of those as well. So now now I don't even have to really go to the gym. And I was listening to and I still go to the gym. I went this morning, did some squats. But I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about Italy, and how in Italy, good luck finding a gym. Okay, gyms. Where the fuck is a gym in Italy? I haven't been able to find. I actually, when I was there, I never saw a gym at all. The gym culture in America is like this big, exercise great. I exercise. It makes you feel great. But what I'm arguing is that we need it. We need it now. You didn't need it in the past, but you need it now, because otherwise you're not going to get those toxins out of your body. You got to sweat them out, right? You're poisoning yourself. You got to sweat it out. If you go to Italy, where the food is good because they have strict food laws, walking is good enough. You'll shed weight just walking. And you've heard the anecdotal story of, I went to Italy and I ate like crazy and I lost 10 pounds because I did a lot of walking. Well, try doing that shit here. Eat a lot here and walk that same amount and see if you lose any weight.
Right. Yeah, because your metabolism is readjusting, and and sunlight, eat organic, and right now, man, I can't even not. It's hard for me to not eat organic. I don't even want to, like, after.
Poison yourself, right?
Yeah.
I walk in the grocery store, I'm like, poison. Oh, organic. Okay.
Yeah.
Poison. Oh, organic. But it's like 10 to 1. Even like at Trader Joe's, I'm like, I look at a fucking green pepper that's not organic. I'm like, herbicides and pesticides. No thanks. Corn, GMO. No thanks. Oh, and Roundup to boot. No thanks. So I know that if I put that into my body, like my body's not gonna thank me. It's gonna be like, you fucked me up, thank you. Now I have to fucking spend the next 3 hours processing this nonsense. make it easy on yourself if you can afford it. And I always push Trader Joe's because they're inexpensive organic food.
Yeah.
Go organic. Save your body from the possible cancer that can cause, possible diabetes, all the metabolic issues that it causes. And you can eat where the fuck you want, right? Like you'll still get fat if you're eating nothing but ice cream, right? But at least give your body a chance where you can actually go down to the basic fundamentals of weight loss, which is calories in, calories out. Now, I've done calorie deficits on a standard American diet and relatively clean diets, but hit a plateau. Like for some reason, I just can't lose weight, right? So what I'm doing is an experiment on myself right now, which is eat all organic, do a little bit of a calorie deficit, and see if it's a steady drop, right? So the first 5 pounds that I lost might have just been water weight because now my body's like, oh, we don't need to do this extra storage of water. Maybe the Diet Coke was causing it. Speaking of Diet Coke, there was an article that came out that said like that fake sugar that they use, artificial sweetener that they use in Splenda and in Diet Coke, tons of issues that artificial stuff causes you. And before, I always looked at my family history. Like my dad's diabetic, my sister had pre-diabetes, my grandfather had issues. My grandfather's father, my great grandfather, lived to 95. His father before him lived to 100. We went to America. Now our life expectancy is like 75. Okay. And we have kidney issues here. We have diabetes here. The shit that didn't happen before. They're living a long life before. We come over here and we're like, our body's like, oh, thanks, man. We appreciate the freedom you got us, though. We appreciate the freedom. You can just keep fighting the food that you're putting in your body every day over here. So I've been drinking Diet Coke for a long time, and it's delicious. I'll tell you right now, Diet Coke is delicious. Okay,
I hate Diet Coke.
You hate Diet? You drink regular? You drink like Mexican Coke?
No, I drink. Here we have one that's called Zero.
No, Coke
I don't know
Zero.
if you have. Yeah.
Does that have
I drink.
artificial? That has artificial stuff too, right?
Yeah, but I don't drink it. It's just if I want to drink sometimes, like once a month or something.
They have Mexican Coke, which has real sugar. Right?
Yeah, we have that here.
All things being equal, I'll go for real sugar. I don't know about the other
best
stuff
one.
in there. I would actually enjoy if they had the original formula where I'm drinking cocaine and just having a good time, right? It's like, damn, how did Coca-Cola become so popular?
It heals everything.
Shit, man. They put cocaine.
You know what I came for.
You know what that means.
The 12-year-old pharmacy guy.
So the point of the story is, if you can cut out Diet Coke or artificial sweeteners, just do real sugar. If you do organic, not the processed sugar. Like most of the sugar comes from sugar beets, and it's like GMO sugar beets. So just more poison to put in your body if you're going that route. In fact, we should always end on a good note about eating organic, and because if you fix that problem, people will start thinking right. People will start feeling better. People will start shedding weight. Depression will come down. The chronic illnesses will come down. You'll start worrying less about your health and start worrying about other people. And so I think if you fix the food, you'll fix a lot of problems. It'll be like a food revolution. It starts with the food, and then we'll fix all the other problems afterwards. So, yeah. And how are we doing this at UpMortem? We're feeding the homeless kids first, organic meals, right? So if there's a company to work for, if you want to do good stuff, we can't pay you much, but feel free to volunteer. We can definitely use people that like Ralph. Ralph is a great cook. I've been sparing the kids myself because if they eat my cooking, that's the type of poison also, even if it's organic. They have to eat my cooking. But I'll have I was thinking is I can at least buy organic like treats and stuff and just hand that out. So I'll probably do that. We're doing that again. Ralph, do you have time today with the 70? Yeah. I see. So make sure you do a shout out to Dimitri, the guy that we did a podcast with. Fantastic guy. I hung out with him this weekend. Oh, let me tell you a story. We were doing bachelor party, and we're going to do Camp Olympics. So we did bocce ball, we did table tennis, we did uh, cornhole, swimming, and we were going to do foosball. But the foosball table was always taken. So we went. They won at bocce ball. Joe was just my brother's really good at anything we throw the ball. Like he's just really good, right? So he won in bocce ball. Then me and my teammate won in. It was me and James. That's like my brother's best friend. We won in table tennis. I coached the shit out of James. I'm like, stop trying to slam this shit. Do not slam the ball. Just tap it. Just tap it into the middle. Aim for the middle, right? So we won there. Barely we won there. And then they won in cornhole. Because like I said, my brother's really good. He gets to throw a sack or a ball. Like he's really good at throwing stuff. And so we were down 2-1. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I've been in Hawaii for 1 month straight doing nothing but swimming. So I think we'll take swimming. So let's even out the series at 2-2 swimming. And we wanted to do like relay race. Okay, where one person goes, they tag another person, and they do a lap, right? And my brother's like, I can't really swim, I don't want to drown. Why don't we just have you and Dimitri? And Dimitri's like, yeah, but like I haven't swam in a long time. Like, nah, like, okay, if we do, can we dive in? And I was like, no, we're not diving in. You start at the wall and you swim and you come back 4 times, right? Four laps. Not 4 laps, twice. There and back, there and back. And so I was like, all right, me and you, Dimitri, 1-on-1. I'm pretty sure I'm going to smoke you because I've been swimming for a month now in Hawaii, right? My cardio is going to be better than yours. You're going to drown. I'm pretty sure you're going to drown. So, we blow the whistle. This motherfucker dives in like a fucking dolphin. It's just like, by the time I can make my first leg, he's already gone back 4 times, right? Because he's kicking off. He swam competitively in high school.
No.
And I'm like, you dirty fuck. We lost. I had to do 50 push-ups. My chest is sore. I had to do 50 jumping jacks. And I was pissed at Dimitri. I'm like, dude, you're withholding information. You swam competitively. I'm a fucking amateur. This guy had all the right everything. So that was my my weekend, was losing in Camp Olympics. So Dimitri gave $70, which is going to feed, would you say like 25 kids, Ralph?
Yeah. Yeah, it was 25 kids. I was able to get like 20 kids some food, and the leftovers went to their parents. So today I'm getting some help. I'm gonna reach out to a couple people inside there and like see if we could set something up that to maximize the efforts.
Do you have a better person to take the video? Because the last one, fucking hey man, God bless Dylan's heart, but it was like he was like taking the footage of between you two, and you could like get half of the body, and I was like, holy smokes! At least you could tell that it wasn't AI generated.
Yeah, no,
AI did a better job than what we did there.
No, so the guy who recorded me the last video is gonna record me. The guy who got the kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's standing there feeding the kids. Yeah.
Make sure we get like people dead center and not like half of their body coming in and out of frame.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, for sure.
And then you in the video say this is sponsored by UpMortem, and then say special shout out to Dimitri who fed all these kids with his money. Is there anything else we want to add to the video? Fede, do you have any suggestions how we can improve the video?
No.
Sadder music. You know how like Sarah McLachlan has like the African child has a fly on the face and like it's walking around and the kid doesn't care because he's so hungry. We need sadder music.
Sadder music, like the Arms of an Angel song.
Something really sad to pull on the heartstrings, because I posted this shit on LinkedIn, right? And I got like the people that shared were the people I explicitly told to share, and the people that liked were like, God bless them for liking it, but they didn't share. I talked to my friend and my real estate agent at her kid's birthday party yesterday, And I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting into doing this nonprofit feeding homeless kids. And she's like, oh yeah, I saw that video. And I was like, oh, you saw it, huh? You saw it.
You only
Dude,
saw it.
like the closest people in your circle. Not we have to start we are starting to get outside of our circle, but yeah, the first barrier to get through is like the people who should be sharing it.
Like my place that I bought for like a little less than $900,000, she got 2.5%, right? That as a
Oh,
friend, be my real estate agent, right? Like I'm looking out for you for your business, friends to hook out for each other's friends, right? And then I was like, oh, so and I had a plead in my thing that said like, share if you don't think kids should go hungry, right? Nah, fuck the kids. I gotta see the next post. So I'm like, man, has everybody become so desensitized to just how things are that even if they see a starving kid getting fed, and like you said, we take none of this money. Ralph is paying for his gas. He's paying for the fucking everything. The gas that he's using is coming out of Ralph's pocket. The only thing that he's using the money for is to buy the food from Whole Foods, right? So if anything, we're not just gonna be 100% efficient. We're putting money in to feed these kids, right? So we're gonna keep doing it until these people's cold hearts melt, right? And then their wallets open up a little bit. Give us $1 so we can have that dollar directly go into the stomach of a child. And the food's good. The food's organic.
yeah.
Fede, you gotta fucking donate too.
Yeah, I should.
Send some money to Ralph. One day, it won't be tax deductible for you. It's not yet either for us, but that's something I want to do today. Is Ralph? Actually, if we can sync on that, I want to get some good standing, and we start taking donations that are tax deductible.
Okay.
But yeah, Fede, $50, send it to Ralph, however you can, and then we're gonna do a shout out to you, Fede, and say, Pedro Quattrochillo fed these kids. He's a saint.
And
All right.
we'll have the receipts ready.
Yeah,
to
you get the receipts. You have video footage. Like we're gonna melt your cold heart, Fede. We're gonna melt your cold heart.
That's what really happens when if you actually go do that for people, like it'll feel like your heart's melting.
And Fede, if it's a hardship on you, I will send you a bonus in your next paycheck.
Okay.
All right.
Nice.
If you're like, oh fuck, Raj, I couldn't afford that $50 to feed those kids, I will pay for it out of my pocket. How about that? You
No, I
just
can
tell
do
me,
it.
you give me the word, and I will give you more money.
I can do it. I can do it. Don't
Okay.
worry.
Or even better would be if you know someone that's a good cook. Well, you have a hard time finding organic food down there, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We can't trust the food in Argentina. We have no idea what's in it.
Okay.
It'd be cool if we go international.
Yeah, that would be
countries. We just go to like Italy and just buy the regular food, and we're like, it's organic.
organic anyway.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true actually. If they ban pesticides and herbicides.
It's hard to say. Like some countries, depression wasn't invented yet, so
What do you mean depression? In Africa, we have no depression.
I was like, no such thing. What is that?
There was I think it was Iran. Someone was like, well, what about your gay population? Like, we have no homosexuality here. Everyone is straight.
Oh, United States 1922. Like
no homosexuality here. Everybody's straight.
That's so funny. Yeah, I lost what I was gonna say. So
all right. So to do on my agenda, I'm gonna get some good standing. I think it's gonna cost me what, 400 something. That will make it so we can get donations that are tax deductible. I mean, you could donate if you don't care about getting your tax money back. You can give directly to the kids if you want. But my to-do is that I also have to. So I'm the president of my HOA, and I was like, oh, I'll read the rules, CC&Rs. It's like the community rules and regulations. I looked at it, 76 pages rules. I'm like, fuck. That's going to take a while to read and comprehend. And then we're having a HOA board meeting at my place, and my one of my objectives is to eliminate as many rules as possible. One rule I want to get rid of is they have the rule that says you can't share parking permits. Why?
You need to make a documentary about this.
I'm like, why? Why are you banning the like? I can't go to my neighbor and say, hey, I know you have a guest coming. You can use my parking permit. That's illegal. That'll get you fined by the HOA.
Wow. They just trying to find anything?
Huh?
Is that like it has something to do with people parking in the red zone?
In the parking slots for guests, which are most of the time they're empty.
Yeah.
So like,
Okay.
are we like, oh no, everybody's using them, so we can't share, and it's not fair. Who's coming up with these rules? And then they're like perpetuated forever, and then and the rules become 76 pages long. Like, all right, okay, we've been over an hour here. If you can, yeah, don't even worry about like you have the footage here if you want to take those into clips, Ralph, and put them on TikTok and stuff. But just focus on feeding the kids first and foremost. Everything else can wait.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. It's like 12:30 here, so.
All right, get to it, guys. Thanks for bullshitting.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.